This is his only outing. Every 2 weeks he gets to see people.
And we just got to be out of trouble.
Okay, we'll get the meeting started. Thank you for all of you being here tonight. Before we start, if you desire to speak under the citizens to be heard or on any item that's on the agenda tonight, feel free to fill out a card over here, and we'll be glad to hear you tonight as that time comes up. I'm going to ask Mr. Thomas to lead us in the invocation and pledge. Please stand and join us.
Please join me. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you that we live in a place where we can participate in our government and our citizens can take part in it. We ask you to just be present with us tonight, guide our hearts and our minds to make the best decision for our community. In your holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. First order of business is the approval of the agenda.
So moved if nobody's got a change.
I'd like to pull off number 7 and number 28 off consent.
Okay. Motion to approve, removing 7 and 28. Second. Okay, we got a second from Commissioner Thomas. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Next item is citizens to be heard. Patty, any citizens on the first one? Okay, now there will be a second one towards the end of the meeting that you can also address us. First one is the awards and presentations. Presentation by the Integrity Group regarding proposed services to assist the county with response, recovery, and mitigation due to COVID-19. Tim Moore, are you coming up first?
Yes, sir, and you'll be glad to know that I'm the only one coming up from the Integrity Group. I appreciate you gentlemen and what you do, and I'm very mindful of your time. First of all, my name is Tim Moore. I'm one of the 3 senior partners in the Integrity Group, and I'll certainly be brief. My background is I had the pleasure of serving in the Department of Law Enforcement for 30-plus years. 16 plus of those years as the commissioner under 4 governors and working with that lovely young lady right there. Not as a governor, but as the legislative business. Yes. We thank you for the work authorization that you passed earlier on. We thank you most importantly for the opportunity to work with you. Our name, the Integrity Group, is not by accident. We believe that, and we're going to do everything we can to get Wakulla County every penny you deserve, but not a penny more. As we were talking with the manager and with Cherie earlier, you've got a good team here. Witness the fact they already got a lot of work done, got everything lined up. Our job is to come in and get those pennies for you and the dollars, and we're going to do that. Let me just briefly introduce my 2 partners that are with me here this evening as well. Gary Yates is actually the founder of the Integrity Group. He founded the company 12-plus years ago, and during our time, collective time in the Department of Law Enforcement, he was my chief inspector general. He was also my chief of staff. A good person for a Bay County native. He's okay. He fits in real nice. And then Mr. Eric Miller here is our newest partner. Eric was the chief inspector general for the state of Florida under Governor Rick Scott's 2 terms. That means all the inspector generals and all the agencies reported up to Eric. His job was to make sure that every nickel the state spent was spent correctly and could be defended. He did an exemplary job on that. And he too has a very distinguished background in law enforcement and policing in several different agencies. And he was also the deputy chief financial officer for the state of Florida. So he understands the money, where it is and where it needs to be, how to track it, how to keep us all in compliance, and we're all going to be working to keep you in compliance with everything that a lot of people have to worry about. You'll sleep good in the evening. With that, let me just ask if you have any questions. If you do, we'll be glad to address them, or try to.
This is the CARES.
Mm-hmm.
What about what you and I talked about?
We had a presentation at ARPC by Chris Doolin.
Yeah, you go ahead, ask him a question, ask
Mhm.
him. Tell-
And,
Go ahead.
and he was really stressing that, the purpose of money is to get it out there in the community.
That's
And I was
exactly right.
asking him, and he said a lot of what he's seeing in counties is a FEMA mentality, where you got to document every single thing down to the T, like it was a FEMA project. But my feeling, and I think Cushman expressed this last time, and Chris Doolin really stressed this, is, in my mind, if you're a restaurant or like a hair salon, you should be deemed to comply as being affected by COVID-19.
Mhm.
And I just assume to see some sort of grant based, if they're local, based on how many employees they have or how much revenue they've lost, and not just have to come up and say, I'm about to lose, I haven't paid my rent. What if they took a second mortgage on their house and they are current on their bills? I mean, they shouldn't get any money. So that is one thing I'd like to see is, no, I wouldn't necessarily call it a stimulus, but we know restaurants like Meyer
Sure.
Jeans, for example, have been affected by this.
Sure.
The government gave us this money to get it out in the community, and I'd just like to see that done as quickly as possible. If they can't, and like Chris Doolin was saying, if you could prove that they're in business, as long as what you're doing is not illegal, then do it.
You'll control that. Your staff will, for the most part. We have had that very discussion with the manager and with Cherie, and we're very sensitive to that. And we represent a lot of counties across Florida, and some do it very well. Some treat it like it's, the last dollar they're ever going to get and want to hold on to it. That's not the way to do this. We're very much in line. Our philosophy is always going to be your philosophy as long as it's legal, which it always will be. We're just like that on that point. The money does no good sitting up here. In fact, Cherie had called, we had spoken last week and again this week about some good, clear guidance on a sheet of paper we can give to each of you commissioners. And I think if I were sitting behind that dais, I'd want to start calling my companies consistent with that guidance that is on that sheet we're going to be giving to you, and say, hey, you're eligible to come on and sign up.
Billions of dollars, and it's
Get
there.
it done and get it out there where they can get some relief. The point's well made.
We expect to have it online by 1 September. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's right.
So that we should be able to, I think we're going to try to approve that in that next meeting in August. And then the people out in the public, especially the businesses like Commissioner Merritt's talking about, to be able to come in and apply, have that sheet of paper.
That's right.
Have a website, have an understanding where the public can, we need it to be easy to understand and easy to navigate so people can make that application, and hopefully there won't be a lot of lag time to be able to award the
Exactly.
money to them.
We built a portable just for Wakulla County, a portal rather, that the people who are computer savvy can go on and apply directly to that portal. We've also hired some staff to put down here in the county manager's office, working with Cherie, to help people who might be like me, don't know how to use a computer very effectively. They'll be there to help take those applications on your behalf and streamline the process and make it go smoothly.
I guess my root point is that I want to try to focus on the businesses affected. Construction, it hasn't slowed down one bit.
Mhm.
So, we don't want a contractor coming in and saying, I need to get some COVID-19 relief. But if you're a restaurant or, like I said, a hair salon, I don't know what other businesses like that, local
Most small businesses are impacted.
gyms, exactly, very good, Heather.
Yeah.
Those should be deemed to comply with, qualifying to get some of this relief fund. And it's just how much, what was your payroll that you lost or whatever, and give them the money.
Sure, fast track it. That's what CARES, that's the good thing about CARES versus FEMA. FEMA's going to sit up there after you do your application and flip through every little page.
Yep.
First, they're going to do that in DEM. That's a big problem with 100% validation. That slows the train down to it's not even a coast. It's a roll. That is the problem. We're not facing that with CARES.
Yeah.
So,
I just thought, just for my fellow commissioners, I don't want to be as cautious as we have been in the past with this, because it was thrown out there to get it out in the community. And if we're not, of course there is clawback provisions, I guess, so we have to cross our T's and dot our I's, but
there are clawback provisions, and our goal is to make sure that this man right here watches every nickel, and then when anything goes a little bit off, a half a bubble off the plum, we have a talk, we can get to the same end, the same results, but maybe with a little different roll, and stay clean where we don't have to worry about clawback. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, y'all
Thank
come, Cherie You come with a high recommendation from her, so we certainly have high expectations that you guys are going to do a good job for us, and we appreciate it. Sir, did you have something to say?
My best not to let you down.
I was just going to, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I was
Yes.
just going to address the commissioner's concerns about the clawback. I mean, as a former inspector general, one of the first things we do is look at the origins of the money and then the controls on the origins of the money from the catalog of federal domestic assistance. And it doesn't come with the same stringent requirements that the FEMA money does come with actually on the auditing side either. Whereas when you talk about the controlling Code of Federal Regulations, 2 CFR 200 that normally applies to FEMA grants and to other grants don't apply to, that statute doesn't apply to this because it's not a grant. It's other financial assistance that's come down from Congress. And so what we'll do is we'll plug in our compliance plan and our anti-fraud measures to that more broad the more broad parameters there, so that we're not going to make it to where it's overly restrictive any more so than it has to be. But you're right, the contract that DEM sent out, I don't know if you noticed it, actually had FEMA written in there twice. That was a carryover from a boilerplate contract they had used before, because this money didn't emanate from FEMA or Department of Homeland Security. It's from U.S. Department of Treasury. They didn't intersect. So, I mean, but DEM is controlling the 25% release that you got, and then the 75% that they're still holding. So, I mean, you are bound to that contract, but there are, as you know, much broader uses to this money, and our audit parameters will be plugged into all the controls that we install. And those are referenced in 2 CFR 200.300 and 312. Those have to be installed, and we'll make sure those are taken care of.
We're just a little jaded dealing with FEMA and then dealing with Triumph money that has all these clawback provisions, and this money apparently is a little bit looser to get out there in the community.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other comments by the commissioners? Any questions?
Guidance that you're talking about is actually going to be on the next meeting.
Right. Right.
So, y'all get that.
But just for the public info, we expect to roll this out mid-August so that it's ready to roll on 1 September. So I look forward to that. Okay, next is the
Move consent. Second.
motion to approve the consent with items 7 and 28 removed. And we have a second by Commissioner Thomas. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item 7, we'll hand it over to you, Commissioner Hess.
Item 7, my only concern on this was that it was said it was going to come out of the sewer operating fund, and this is an expansion project, and it should come out of the access funds. David tells me it's going to work that way, but I just want to make sure it's noticed in the record that this is supposed to be coming out of the funds for access, because this is sewer expansion.
This will, as I told you, this will, some of this will come out of the access fee fund, some will come out of the operating fund, some will actually come out of the road fund at the end of the day. We just don't know what those breakouts are at this time, but yes, it'll be hitting that.
Okay.
Okay, just so the public knows, I want to, let's read that into the record. It's, item 7 is request board approval of work authorization number 20-22 with Dewberry Engineers for survey and design services for Friendship Church Road, Floyd Gray Road, and Laha Mill Road, Sewer Force Main, in the amount of $39,500.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
motion by
Me?
Randy.
Mr. Merritt, seconded by Mr. Hess. All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Tell you, next one was 28.
Yeah, I had to pull this off because I wanted to recuse myself because I've had campaign contributions from Mr. Hammond.
Is that a reason to recuse?
It's the appearance of
If he wants to.
impropriety.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, in that case, I have two, but I don't.
Gotta have a quorum.
I don't see that that's a conflict of interest, but that's your call.
It's my call.
That's why I didn't take any campaign donations.
Amen. Okay. So,
Wish to approve?
I have a motion,
Second.
I have a second, and I'm gonna err on the side of caution, and we'll still have a forum if both of us abstain, and I'll fill out a form as well, Kelly. And anyway, with that said, all for the motion?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Okay.
Call me. She's probably worried now.
Next is general business.
Yes, item number 12 this evening is a request for the board's approval regarding an application for the production of a code enforcement lien pertaining to case number CE 2012-139. This is for property located at 138 Pixie Circle. Back in 2013, the Code Enforcement Board found this property to be in violation of Wakulla County codes, and at the time, there was a separate property owner involved who failed to come into compliance, and therefore, for the last several years, daily fines have accrued against this property. The new property owners recently came to their attention that there was this outstanding violation, or this outstanding lien, rather, on the property, and did notify us that the property was in compliance. So we did do an inspection, found it to be in compliance.
Move option 1, which is to waive the code enforcement lien down to cost plus 20%, which is $3,341.59, with the condition that the reduced lien amount be satisfied within 60 days. Heather? That's
sir.
needed, right?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve option 1 and a second. Any more discussion? We have one citizen to be heard. I think you're just, if need be, right?
Unless you want to talk us out of it.
Thomas? Thomas Collins.
Not
Not
yet.
yet. It's coming. So I don't, unless you just need to say something, I think it's going to be approved, so.
Can't do that.
Okay. All right, so any more discussion by the board? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, 5-0.
Just for grins and giggles, the old loan was, the lien was $234,000, by the way. So, we cut it more than in half.
Okay, next.
Property's worth about 3,000 or so, right?
Next item.
We appreciate you cleaning it up, by the way.
Next item is number 13, please, general business.
Yes, this request board approval to waive the procurement ordinance and approve purchase from Cogburn Associates Brothers Incorporated for repairs at Otter Creek wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $31,970. We got quotes from 3 different, because this was a unusual procurement in the fact of just getting prices as it's a repair of an existing facility. We got 3 prices, and Cogburn had the lowest price,
Motion
and they
approved.
had actually done some of the work
Second.
there as well.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Any citizen to be heard? No citizens? Off the motion?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Next is a request, a similar item, request board approval to waive procurement ordinance and approve purchase from pump and process equipment that repairs for lift station 59 in the amount of $94,996.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Where's the lift station again?
It's down on Mashie Sands at, what's the name of that subdivision? Fairwind, Trade Winds?
Trade wins, yeah.
Trade Winds, and this is.
Oh,
this
that's
is
the one that's up
This
on
is
the-
the one, replace the tower that's there, this replaces
And with
the
it,
tower, the
okay.
aluminum tower, yes.
Platform.
Now, the wet well itself, I don't mean to stray too far off track, but obviously the storm surge comes in there. Is the wet well itself
We're gonna
sealed?
seal the wet well and go to the vent up
And the
top.
tower is just for the control panel?
And just for the control panel, and it's way too high, but that's what Mr. Summer said we had to do, so.
And so does FEMA.
What about the, and I don't want to, again, stray too far off, but the retrofits we did already on Station 4, Station 8, we didn't bring the control panels on up to base flood, did we?
No, we don't have this type of funding to do that yet. That'll come.
Okay,
But they're all sealed?
They're
for
all
storm
sealed,
surge.
yes, yes.
no citizens to be heard. Any more discussion on the board? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Next item is request board direction regarding accepting dedication of right-of-way within the Commodore Commons platted subdivision. As I
Motion
said,
to
I-
accept the right-of-way and have the road department pay the $900.
option 1.
Correct.
Second.
Okay, motion for option 1 and seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Any citizens? No citizens? Any more discussion by the board? Hearing none, all for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Just for the record, it was only $900 to do.
Okay. We move on to no public hearings, planning and zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an application for a change of zoning, R2005. This is Windsong Village 3 LLC. This is to change zoning from RSU1, which is semi-urban residential, to RR2, rural residential, on about a 5-acre piece of property down in Twin Lakes Estates.
Motion to approve.
Hold on, please.
Is it quasi?
Yes. In accordance with Section 24.01 of the code, each commissioner needs to disclose any ex parte communications. Commissioner Merritt?
Fine.
Commissioner,
None.
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 if there's anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn.
That's you, Walt.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to
It's
approve.
actually a downgrade in zoning, right, Summer?
Correct.
No citizens to be heard. Any discussion by the board? Hearing none, all for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Good job, Walt.
Okay? 17.
The next item is an application for change of zoning R 2006. This is on behalf of Wakulla County.
Please tell me this is quasi-judicial too.
It is.
We're the applicants.
This is for a
Speak for yourself.
change from a mixed zone piece of property that is C2, RR5, and R1A to be exclusively C2. It's at the corner of Wooden Lake Road and Crawfordville Highway. If you have any
Now,
expert,
I got a question for you. Since the citizens of Wakulla County are the applicant, do I have to name every citizen of Wakulla County?
they're actually the county government is the applicant.
Yeah, I talked to you, I talked to David, I talked to Summer, I talked to everybody that was at the last board meeting, we've all talked about it.
We're not at that point yet.
I really don't know how we, so yes. Yes, I have had ex
Easy,
parte.
Randy, easy.
Just not sure how to handle it.
Have you had any discussions with non-county employees, I guess would be
No,
the...
I have not.
Okay, thank you.
No, I have not.
No.
No.
I advocated for this from the beginning to, get this acquisition and make this right away. So I've had a lot of people talking about this for a number of years. So I'm not sure if that qualifies, but other than that, no.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
If there's anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, please stand up to be sworn.
Do I need to stand up?
No. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Should have stood.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
stands. Ah, too late, I already made it twice.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hess. Any citizens to be heard? Any more discussion by the board?
This is a good business move also, by the way, excellent business move.
Okay. All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item.
Hold on, let me get there. Okay, the next item is an application for final plat FP 2007 Chadwick Estates Subdivision Phase 2. If you have any ex parte communications, Commissioner Merritt, please
No.
start.
No.
No.
None.
No.
If there's anyone here who's going to provide any information on this application, including the applicant, please stand up to be sworn. Raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No citizens to be heard. Any discussion by the board?
Just, if I could I have you read just because it's going to come up later, what's the standard of review on a final plat?
The standard of review on a final plat is if the applicant has to put forward a prima facie case that they have met all of our code requirements and obviously the requirements of Chapter 177 Florida statutes. Once they have met all those requirements, there is a presumption that you will approve it. And if you do not approve it, the burden shifts to you to come up with a legitimate governmental reason why you should not approve it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Well, everybody needs to understand this is basically already in place. This is just approving
All
what's
the
there.
infrastructure's built, everything's there.
Okay. All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 19.
The next one's a comp plan amendment. That's a legislative item, not a quasi-judicial, so I'll let Summer handle that.
This request CP 2002 is for the transmittal of a comprehensive plan future land use map amendment by Golden Construction. This is a 14.35 acre parcel located in the southwest corner of the intersection of MLK and Alexander Road. Currently, the future land use designation is urban fringe, but the proposed future land use designation of suburban transitioning would allow up to 5 units per acre with connection to both central sewer and water. If approved, the maximum density allowed on this site would be 71 units. The applicant has submitted extensive data and analysis relating to the cultural and environmental resources on the property, which bear no problem or concern from a review standpoint. The applicant has also provided transportation analysis, which at a very high level at this point does not anticipate any significant impacts.
Wish to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Good enough, Summer.
We have one citizen to be heard, Robbie Miller, who's the applicant if needed. Any discussion by the board?
So I just want to make sure that this is inside the town plan,
Yes, sir, it is.
and he's going to have to provide recreational areas, open space inside the facility.
Yes.
And there hasn't been any objections from the citizens around it.
No input from citizens.
And all the sidewalks, whatever's required by the town plan.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion by the board? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Good job, Robbie. You too, Amber.
Tab number 20 this evening is a request for the board's approval to accept and file an application for a road closure and abandonment on a portion of Crawford Avenue and a section of platted driveway within the Surf subdivision.
What is the staff recommendation on this item?
Staff recommendation, I'm going to amend slightly from tonight's agenda item, what's presented before you. Staff would recommend that the board consider the acceptance of the platted driveway area, but not consider the application for the portion of Crawford Avenue. Although there's other platted right-of-ways that could provide access to other lots adjoining the applicant's owned lots, there are significant wetland features there that may prohibit actual access to those lots.
That's my motion.
So to avoid any problems in the future and hindering access, we would recommend keeping Crawford open.
That's my motion then. Abandon the driveway, but not Crawford.
If the board approves that this evening, then an advertisement would be released and signage on the property, and it would come back for the board for final consideration. So this would not be a final vote to close and abandon that portion of the driveway this evening.
Just to advertise, that's what we're doing
Just
tonight.
advertise, yes, sir.
Chuck already seconded it.
All right, so we have a motion. Let me run a meeting, Mr. Merritt, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Merritt made a motion to approve, and seconded by Mr. Hess. This is to advertise only so the public understands what we're doing, just to close that one portion. Any more discussion? No citizens to be heard? All for the motion?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Okay, that completes planning and zoning. Okay, commissioner agenda items? There are none. County attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one agenda item. We're seeking board approval of a legal services agreement with Mark Herron of Messer Caparello as conflict counsel. This is in accordance with the county's defense policy to defend an ethics complaint that we feel we might have a conflict with.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. The ethics complaint was filed against me. And I'd like to kind of summarize it if I could, which is kind of unusual.
Yes,
It
sir.
was
Go ahead.
filed by Megan Allen, who lives in Saraland subdivision, and I'm sure y'all have gotten a lot of calls about Saraland subdivision recently, about their swimming pool and clubhouse.
Are you waiving your confidentiality?
Yeah,
on it?
absolutely. I'm not going to read it verbatim. I was going to, but our attorney advised me not to. There's several things in here I'm not even the slightest concerned about it. For example, one of them has some allegations that I had a large amount of money in a stock account, and then when I did my next reporting, I didn't report it. That's because my ex-wife has it. So that kind of explains that pretty easily. If somebody would get it back, I'll report it. But I don't think that's going to happen. There's some accusations that me and Mike Pafford are business partners, which he and I do not own any property together. We don't have any agreements for anything. Let's see, that's probably good enough.
Yeah.
But I would like to add that when I first got elected, and Heather can attest to this, I went straight to her and asked her to make sure I wasn't going to have any conflicts of interest, given what I do for a living and being a commissioner. And on my own, about 5 years ago, I contacted the Ethics Commission and wanted to make sure it was okay for me to vote on a final plat, given what I do. And I was told it was. So, you know, this all goes back to me voting on a final plat for Saraland Phase 2. I think the people are a little confused between engineering for a subdivision construction, which is what these guys do, versus engineering for an individual house. And if I had done what these guys do for a subdivision, then I would certainly be guilty of conflict of interest. And that's why I wanted the standard of approval for a final plat said earlier. We have to vote for it unless there's some legal reason why not to. So anyway, that's why I'm recusing, and I guess I'll fill for now.
Okay.
That good enough?
Heather, did you need to explain any further what, is that,
What you're doing is, I mean, we have used Mark Heron previously with other ethics issues. He does a very good job. Since we represent the county, it's difficult to represent an individual as well. And so it's advised when county attorneys get these kind of complaints to bring in conflict counsel, and that's what we're recommending.
And I'd like to read just one more sentence that kind of goes to the heart of this. Basically, I'm going to paraphrase it. Pafford has failed to meet obligations. The homeowners have attempted to get BOCC to fix it, and that subdivision is part of my district, and I failed to respond to the concerns. So that's really the gist of the complaint, I think.
all right, so Heather, make sure that the public understands that, you know, we voted a long time ago about doing this, paying for this kind of service for the commissioners. If they're found, in this case, I hope Randy's not, but if he should be found in violation of the ethics, negligent, then he has to pay the county back for that.
Absolutely. That is correct.
I just want to make sure that the
And we have a signed agreement
Yep.
on this specific issue with Commissioner Merritt, and this has been in place, and you've had a defense policy in place since 2009, 2010, I would think.
Okay,
So if I did something wrong, I'm going to be on the hook for the bill.
exactly. Just want to make sure the public understood that, so I'm sure we're going to get questions about it.
One
Yes.
question. Just one question I forgot to ask when we met earlier today. What about the provision, the $175 an hour?
That is if the employee or official decides to engage their own counsel and not go through the county.
Okay,
And so coming through the county, that provision does not apply.
gotcha. Thank you.
Okay? All right, so do we have a motion on the floor?
So moved.
We have a motion now by Mr. Thomas, seconded by Mrs. Messerschmidt. Any more discussion by the board? No citizens? Hearing none, all for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Okay, County Administrator, any items?
Yes, I do. Brandy has an item concerning DOR and the property appraiser's budget. Brandy?
Yes, I received the property appraiser's budget, or proposed budget that was submitted to DOR this morning, and we have about a $107,000 gap between what DOR is tentatively going to approve versus what the county, the BOCC, has proposed to fund the property appraiser's office. In speaking with James Burke, he's the chief deputy, he does not feel that he has the standing, since he has not been appointed as the property appraiser, to make such a drastic cut in the property appraiser's office budget and submit that budget amendment to DOR. So between now and August 15th, the board has the opportunity to submit any testimony or evidence to DOR, kind of disputing and giving the proposed budget that we're planning to provide and the reasons why we're going to do that. And so we'll need to get that correspondence to DOR no later than August 10th to give them time to review. So I'm happy to draft a letter outlining the reasons why we made that such a drastic reduction and send that on to DOR for their review.
And ask the chairman to sign it.
And ask the chairman to sign it.
To draft that letter.
And ask the chairman to
Ask the
sign it.
chairman to sign it.
Right.
And one more thing about that is, you know, David and I have talked about this extensively, and we're definitely not trying to sabotage an incoming property appraiser. So what we had discussed on Friday was to set that $1.1 million up as the actual transfer to the property appraiser's office, and that's quarterly, so they get that quarterly, and then to put about a $75,000 reserve line in there that cannot be spent unless the incoming new elected property appraiser comes before the board and requests that that reserve dollars be released to them. So we do have a plan in place. We're not trying to set them up for failure. If something comes along and the newly elected official cannot make the budget work with the $1.1 million, we'll be able to come in there and fix that situation mid-year.
Good.
Randy and I have also looked over, and we're confident as the budget that we're submitting, we've gotten the employee cost, and we've calculated all of that, and that's the reason we recommended to you guys. They can operate in it. They're going to have to really manage. They can't just frivolously go about doing stuff. They got to manage it, but that's where it needs to be.
Well, part of it, you've offset $40,000 worth of salary as well by moving a
That's right.
position over.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Merritt. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second by Mr. Thomas. Any more discussion?
I have an issue I'll bring up after this, on the same line, but none on this.
Okay. All for the motion?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Since we're writing letters on this, I would suggest that we write a letter to the governor and have him appoint whoever wins the election on the 18th. We can get it ready to go and just fill in the name once it comes, once they win, and they get appointed right away instead of having to wait till January.
Good point.
Yeah.
And so,
Now, that's a Republican, it is partisan, right? So I agree,
it's
that's
decided this.
a good idea.
Okay.
I mean,
and-
I'd certainly go for that. That's a real good idea.
So a motion to draft that letter and have me sign it.
Right.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Merritt. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries
The
5-0.
bad part about that idea is I didn't come up with it, but that's okay.
Citizens be heard. That category. Okay, discussion issues by commissioners. Mr. Merritt?
Good news on the bane of your life, Mike, which is the 4-lane of 319. I talked to DOT, they got 90% plans done from Lost Creek north up to Walmart, but they're just sitting on a shelf because the right-of-way acquisition is so expensive. So I talked to the DOT guy, and they're going to split it just south of McDonald's. So we'll get the McDonald's intersection done, all right, and they'll go north and join in with the other section.
Good.
And then I talked to him, he said as long as you can get it through CRTPA, which I don't have any doubt we can get it through CRTPA, they'll go ahead and then they can go ahead and allocate money to finish the plans, to get them biddable, then they can start buying right away. So right now, it's not even on the screen because they're sitting on the shelf. This will at least get us back up on the line.
What kind of time frame? If
No idea.
So,
least it keeps
one of the
moving,
big parts of this
Keeps moving.
for Crawfordville is getting a regional stormwater so we can, handle the stormwater that's coming off of this and coming off the businesses, and so each business doesn't have to handle it. And that's going to be in the next phase, or, because that's one of the things we need to be pushing for.
That would
as
be
it
in
goes
these, once we,
In these ponds, that's right.
we're going to try to split the project in half.
forward. Okay, I just want to make sure that we're working hard to try to get a regional stormwater so that we don't have to have
At least-
every business build their own stormwater pond.
At least,
Okay.
and you made some good points earlier, it saves the developer real estate.
Right.
So they don't have to have a stormwater pond.
and we ain't got all those ugly.
Yes, exactly. So,
And we're
I'm not-
sitting on ready. In fact, Kimley Horn is sitting on ready. As soon as this project cranks back up again, they're ready to continue the discussion with
we
the.
don't want to do is let it sit there for several years, then those 90% plans, well, we got to go resurvey everything, and
Exactly.
it's just ridiculous. I had a call from email actually from a citizen, and a call, David Kinsey Road, apparently is a county-maintained road.
Yes.
And he wanted to make it private. And I said, I'm not really sure how you do it. Only other road, Walt, the one
There's only
Scott
about
Gaby lived on.
four homes on that road.
Yeah. Roland Harvey, used to be a county-maintained road. They had to go in there and survey it and get easements and everything. I don't know what the procedure is, but, okay. That's all I got.
Quincy?
No,
Nothing?
no.
Nothing.
Shockingly fast.
I would, I promise I got lots of emails about masks again, local ordinance, and I will say that if you look at the effects in Tallahassee, there was a significant drop in infection rate once they started wearing masks, but I just wanted to make sure everybody talks about it, whether you want to do it or not. It's probably a good idea until we get the handle of this, so.
Okay. That it?
That's it. Has anybody got any interest in seconding an motion on that? I didn't think so.
No.
Okay.
Right. Thanks for trying, though, Charlie.
All right, that's it. It's up to me now. So two things. One, I ask that I think everybody got a copy of the Whitehead Lake letter. While that letter is, in my opinion, not exactly written where somebody might jump on it, they've reached out, Liberty County, I spoke to the chairman over there, and they've reached out and just asked us to give a letter of support to not closing Whitehead Lake Campground. So I just brought it to you guys' attention because I was asked by them. I'll entertain a motion to do such, and I'll be glad
make
to
that
sign it.
motion.
I can support, if we just repeat the letter we used for the Wood Lake campground, Wood Lake facility, and send that in, because they need to, this is Seminole artifacts, they got requests from the Seminole tribe not to disturb them, and so they're gonna have to do that, but if we can get them to harden the site, and that way they, people don't have a chance to get into the artifacts, and just keep it open that way. And so it's just basically just the same letter we sent on the Wood Lake program.
Is that all right with everybody?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay, so, and authorize me to sign?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that good, David? Can we do that? All right, so.
Do we know if they've contacted Congressman Dunn's office? Is he
I don't know.
is he working it from that side?
I can ask that question.
And this is,
They've contacted
They
everybody.
contacted.
this is the campground just on the other side of the Three Ridges, instead of Creek.
I don't know if they've.
Yeah, he's on the CC
He's on the
list.
CC.
He and
Everybody's on the
Rubio
CC.
and
Not
Scott.
Reached out to him.
Right.
Personally, that might be a good idea, rather than this letter. But anyway, I'll mention that to him.
I wouldn't send that letter to anybody.
That's not, we're not gonna put our name on it. All right, so do we have a motion by Mr. Merritt and seconded by
I'll second.
Mr. Thomas to do that letter of support? Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. One last thing, just some info. I told you guys before, we were trying to work on, with Dr. Pienta at 4-H, trying to get a Boys and Girls Club started here to do a children's program, and we worked that. And but in the process, we come up with maybe a better angle that Dr. Pienta and I are going to meet tomorrow with the folks from Taylor County. They have a program that we found out that 4-H runs that sounds like a super program. They're able to pay for it in-house, no money from the county, and I spoke to the administrator over there, and she said that she put her granddaughter in it, and she can't say enough good things about it. So if it could work, maybe soon we'll be able to bring this back to the board and ask that we start a kind of a pilot program down in Panacea. If it works well there, which I think it can, then if it works, then we could maybe move it to Crawfordville and open up a bigger facility there. So
Open up a new branch in Crawfordville, not just move it.
exactly. So
Waltz will go back.
the idea is, we're moving with it, trying to get something done, and I'd love to, I know all of you guys are certainly would entertain the idea of trying to do something for youth. And I'm talking about an after-school program and a summer program specifically. So anyway, just letting you know an update on that. Okay,
Excellent.
any more discussion? Okay, we stand
Mr.
adjourned.
Adjourner,
Thank you all. Thank you.